Okay, so we're setting up for our first practice in watercolor, and we're going to be using just regular Strathmore watercolor paper. Now, when you take it out of the pad, the important thing to understand is that this paper is not two-sided. It does have a rough surface, and the way it comes out of the pad is the right way to use it. Okay, you may not be able to see that texture. If we flip it over to the back side, the texture looks almost like a little bit rougher. It almost looks a little bit like fabric. This back side does not absorb the watercolor good at all. If you put it on the back side, you're probably going to have to restart. Make sure that you keep it on the front side. Again, just the way it comes out of the pad. Don't start flipping around, things like that. Again, it's the side that it's rough, but the back side looks more like structured and like straight line kind of rough. When we tape it down, we're going to tape it down to this board. The purpose of that is to keep the paper straight. The paper will have water on it. When it gets water on it, it'll swell up and sort of buckle up and sort of bow out. By taping it down to the board, it kind of keeps the thing a little flatter. Now, to ensure that it stays nice and flat, we're going to tape it to the paper side of the board. I know this board is set up for like painting on it and everything else like that. The tape sticks better to the back side, so I'm going to put my paper down, and then I'm going to put a piece of tape across the entire top. Okay? And then I'll do the same on all four sides. That way my paper will stay nice and taut. This practice one, is not something that we're going to make a beautiful painting on. It's just going to be for practice mark making, but I want you also to practice the right way to set up your paper. And this is, for our purposes, going to be the right way to set up our paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all four sides just like this with a little bit of masking tape. And again, I don't want to cover up a ton of the paper. The other thing I want to do is I'm going to do one big square of practice space. I'm going to do another skinny column that I'm going to do a different type of practice on. So I'm going to take one more piece of tape. It doesn't matter if you do it on the left side or the right side, or it really doesn't make any difference. But I'm going to tape that down. I'm going to leave ourselves maybe the width of your hand, like 4 fingers worth of space on one side and a big sort of square on the other. And then just to make sure that this does all look like everybody else's, make sure on the tape you just label your name on the tape, because it's going to look identical to everyone else's. So the important part is make sure you tape down the paper on the correct side, tape it down to one of these boards, give yourself a skinny little column, and make sure you label it. And you can look at my next video on how we get started with brushes and washes.